Hello everyone, welcome back again. This is Zoya's Affairs, and if today is your first time of tuning in, you are highly welcome. And to my returning subscribers, I am so glad and excited that you came back to watch. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for stopping by. So today on the channel, I will be preparing egusi soup. So that is what we will be preparing today on the channel. So if you want to see how I made this, keep watching. So I start cooking and I'm just trying to rinse the chicken. I've brought it out from the freezer for some hours now. So I'm just putting it here. These ones are too big and I said I'm going to cut them in half. So I decided to cut the chicken and I rinsed all the chicken. So over here, I'm just trying to show you guys all the ingredients I'll be using for making this soup. I have my chopped onions, I have seasoning cubes. I will be using chicken seasoning cubes and shrimp seasonings. Then I also have iru, I have grounded crayfish, I have some palm oil, and of course the blended egusi, which is the melon seed, then the blended pepper. This pepper consists of just scotch bonnet pepper, which is atarodo, and some shombo. I also have some dried panla fish, and I also have ponmo here. I'll be adding salt to taste. And for this recipe, I'll be using two different types of vegetables. I have uziza leaves and I also have ugu leaves. I'm using uziza leaves because I actually want it to have this distinct flavor. Uziza leaves have this flavor that actually comes from only that leaf, and I actually wanted to feel the scent in my soup. So that is why I'll be using uziza leaves. And I know ugu leaves to be in like a blood tonic leaf, which is also good for the body. So moving ahead, I went ahead and placed the chicken in the pot, and I'm just seasoning the chicken. I'll be adding salt, onions, seasoning cubes, and I'll also be adding a bit of black pepper just for it. Then I'll be covering this and I'm going to allow it to cook all on its own for some minutes, let's say 10 minutes, and I will come back to check on the meat. So after some time, I decided to make the melon seed, the grounded egusi seed. So I'm just adding ordinary water and I will start to combine together. I'm going to mix this until it forms a paste. Then I'm going to set that aside. I really don't want it to be too watery because the more the egusi stays on ground, the more it's thickened. So I just want it to be like this, so as by the time I will start to cook this soup, it would have double in size. I mean, it would have thick more than this. So I'm just combining it this way, and I will just leave it like that. So after mixing that, I went ahead to prep the vegetables. I'll be picking the uziza leaves first, and I will be washing them, and I will slice it into tiny slices. And I'm also going to repeat the same process for the ugu leaves, and I'm going to be setting that aside. After about 10 minutes into the cooking time, I decided to go in and mix it together. I didn't mix it earlier because I was kind of in a hurry because it's past dinner time. I overslept actually, and when I woke up, I just decided to quickly make the meal. So I'll be turning that together just to make sure everything is well combined and it has actually released its own juice. Then I'll also be adding a little bit of water to make it cook even more. So after mixing it together, I'll be covering it and allow that to cook. So after about 5 minutes into the cooking time, I went back and say it is well cooked. I'm just going to take it off the heat and I will be draining it out of the stock. So in a dry pan, I will be adding the palm oil. That will be enough for me to fry the chicken, because I actually want to fry this chicken in palm oil. I want to feel the taste of palm oil in chicken. Guys, have you ever tasted that before? Palm oil in chicken. So if you want to grill this chicken, it's okay. You can grill it, you can bake it in the oven, you can roast it, and I'm just going to be frying this in the palm oil like this, not too dry, but just to fry it, to give it a bit of texture. That's all what I'll be doing. So I'll be frying this, and it's also going to help to infuse more flavors into the oil after frying. So after frying everything, I'm going to be taking it out of the oil, and once that is set, I'm start cooking. So I decided to take out some oil because I felt it was too much for the soup, and egusi on its own has its own oil which is going to render into the soup, and I don't want much oil in this soup. So I'll be taking some of the oil. I'm going to be taking it out before adding the onions. So into the palm oil, I'll be adding my chopped onions. I will stir that in. Then I'll also be adding the locust beans, which is the iru. I'll mix it together. I'll also be adding the grounded crayfish. I'll mix that. In here, I'm just adding some salt. You need to be careful when adding salt to egusi soup, because egusi soup tends to be more salty. I don't know why. Just a little salt goes a long way, and besides, I'm still going to be using the chicken stock. So over here, I'm just adding the seasoning cubes. I will be using the chicken seasoning and the shrimp seasoning, because we are actually cooking with chicken and we are also adding some crayfish. So I'll be using both seasonings. So I'm going to be stirring everything together, and then I will be adding in the smoked panla fish. It is actually smoked one, but it looks like dried panla fish, but it is actually smoked panla fish, and I'll be combining it together into the oil. Then also I'll be adding my washed ponmo, which I have washed, and I actually cut this in big chunks. So I'll be adding it to it, and I'll just be combining everything by stirring everything together. So after stirring for like a couple of minutes, I'll be pouring in all the blended peppers, which is the atarodo and the shombo, scotch bonnet peppers and the paprika peppers. I also blended it with onions, so I'll cover and allow it to cook on its own. After about 10 minutes into the cooking time, I came back and I'm going to stir everything together just to make sure it is well combined. And as you can see, the stew is cooked. The oil has started to float on top, and you can see that it is ready. So I will start by scooping in our mixed egusi seed, or the blended egusi, which I have already mixed with water. I will start to cutting it in like this, scoop it in a small sizes, and after scooping everything in, I'm going to cover it and allow it to cook in the stew. So after I scoop in everything, every of the egusi into the soup, I'll also add some of the stock into the plate, and I'll just rinse everything together. I'm going to be using the spoon to just mix everything. I'm not going to waste any of this egusi. So I'll mix everything together and I'll pour it into the pot, cover it and allow everything to cook for the first 15 minutes. So after the first 15 minutes, I came back, opened the pot, and look at that. The egusi soup is getting there. I'm just going to use this spoon to combine everything together, and I'll be breaking the lumps, the egusi lumps. I'm not going to break everything, just small amount of the egusi lump. So I'll break it, and I'll be going in to add the uziza leaves. Once I add all the uziza leaves, I'm going to cover it and allow it to wilt in there for a couple of minutes, and I'll come back, stir everything together, and I'll also be going in with the remaining crayfish powder. I'll be adding the crayfish powder, combine it together, and I'll also be adding the fried chicken. Once I add in the fried chicken, I will cover it up with the remaining ugu leaves, and I'll cover it and allow it to wilt. After 2 minutes of covering the pot, I'll come back in and combine everything together. Look at the soup, it is ready, and I'll just mix everything together like this. It is properly cooked and fried. This is how my husband loves his egusi soup, not too watery and not too thick, and he loves it when it has a lot of vegetables in it. So this is ready now. I'm going to take it off the heat and serve. So if you have watched this video up to this moment, what are you waiting for? If you haven't subscribed to my channel. Click on the bell notification so as to get notified whenever I post a new video. Like my video, share it to your family and friends. Let me know what you think about my soup, about this vlog. Thank you all for watching. See you again in my next one. Bye.